Hi everybody, it's Ketsnap here with another Kets Play video. So you guys want to play Rust? Now is the best time to get into it. It is at its peak. So what I thought I'd do is run down a few videos to give you a few starting tips for beginners wanting to get into the game. What I thought I'd do in this video is start off with the basics even before you've loaded into a map. Because so many people complain about the community being toxic in Rust, and I'd like to be the first to say that I've never experienced this. Obviously, it can be really frustrating when somebody kills you, but that is the game. You know, you play the game to PvP, and being killed is a high risk. So just accept that, but there are ways that you can avoid salty noobs and being raided by clans and having a nasty time just by being careful on the servers that you choose. So without further ado, what I would like you to do, if you're following me through on this video, is whiz up to play game in the top left hand corner. This will give you the list of servers that are open to you, and you'll see on the left you have official servers, community, modded, etc, etc, etc. All we're going to be concerning ourselves with are official servers, community or modded servers. Official servers are probably not a great place to start because they often don't have an active admin and they often have a very high population. So for a starting player, it can be a bit of a risky place to begin. I would suggest that you start in a community run server. Here is a list of community run servers open at the moment. Obviously you can sort these via ping and players, so you can then find those that have a smaller population. If you want to, you can jump straight into one of the big ones like Rustified EU main and have a great time. But you need to be aware that that could be a really challenging start, and if you don't have very good patience, you might end up throwing your controller through your monitor or out the window or something ridiculous. So I would suggest that you probably steer clear from the high population servers for at least the first few hours until you've got the basics of the game down. There are a few things to be aware of when you're choosing a server. On here you can see obviously the players and the ping and the names, and it says here procedural map. Most of the maps here are procedural, and that means that the map will be different in every single server that you go to. Every time the server is reset or it is wiped, that world will change. The next thing to be aware of are the locations. Now often it will say EU, or it might say English only, or it might say EU, UK, etc. This is really important because communication is key in Rust. You need to be able to be confident that you can talk to your fellow players. That way, if you click on some of these, you might see that it says English in chat only. That's really important because if you have concerns, you know that you can talk to the admins in English or your native language, of course, and you can raise those problems. It does also mean that you can talk with players in game, and that's really helpful for building your enjoyment of the community. A few other things to be aware of if you're starting out right from the beginning, and I'm assuming that you've never touched Rust before. The types of servers range from completely unlimited to solo servers or duo servers, or in this case solo, duo, trio servers. These are pretty simple. If it's a solo server, people should be on their own. That's helpful because if you're a solo player, the last thing you want to be going up against is a huge clan of players, and that's going to make your time really frustrating, unless of course you're really good. And there are some fantastic YouTubers out there who play solo on large group servers, just because it's really entertaining and they're really good at the game. You might not feel comfortable doing that, so you might want to look for a solo only server to start with. If you have a friend to play with, then of course you can look for duos or trios, etc, etc. The next thing to be aware of is the wipe. The wipe is really significant in Rust because there are two types of wipe. The wipe is a reset. So the first type of reset is a world wipe or a full wipe. The full wipe means that the world is completely reset and all of the blueprints that you've gathered in the game are also reset. So a full wipe basically means that everybody starts from scratch again. The full wipe will tend to work in a monthly cycle. So you'll have 4 weeks of gameplay before you lose everything and everybody starts again. But don't be put off by this, because even the big, really talented players and the large clans, they will also start again too. So everybody's in the same boat. The other thing to be aware of in the wipe is halfway through, often every 2 weeks, there might be a blueprint wipe, or it might be the other way around. This is important because when the full wipe happens, if the blueprints are not also wiped, the world will reset, but you will still have access to all of the things that you have researched in the game. If the blueprints are wiped, that means the world is reset and you've lost all your blueprints. Don't forget, everybody's in the same boat, so don't let that put you off. A really helpful thing to understand is towards the end of a wipe, often people will stop playing unless they are really into it. And that means you might find bases which have decayed. And decaying bases essentially mean that people haven't put the resources in there to maintain them. If you're a starting player, you might be able to find lots of resources in decaying bases very, very easily and very quickly. If you can do that, it will mean that you can research really good tools and weapons at the end of the first wipe, and then if you time it well, you will have those at the start of the next wipe, so it will give you a bit of an advantage. Some servers, like this one here, will say no decay, and that means that you don't have to put anything into your tool cupboard to maintain your base. In the next video, what I'm going to do is talk you through the basics of starting your Rust experience, and for that purpose I'm going to find a map, something like this one here, with nobody in it. Normally I'd look for a server that's got maybe 20 to 30 people in to start, so that you still get people to communicate with and you get a bit of PvP action. But for the purpose of the video, what I'm going to do is go for a naught population map, just as I'm not disturbed and I can go through the basics with you. So if you like this video, please follow the next one, links up in the corner, and it will play automatically because it's in the playlist. If you've got any questions, please write them down in the comments, and also don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more. Alright, see you in the next video guys, when we get straight into real Rust.